Welcome to Devil's Advocate, the show where I let you know how a betting underdog can win a fist fight. It's been a while. The last time we did one of these, it was for UFC 311. We went 5 for 5 on that main card, so I'm hoping that we can keep that energy going as we move from the first pay-per-view of the year to the second to last. We're going to take a look at UFC 322's main card portion and see how the underdogs can possibly win. But we're going to start with our main event of the evening. Very rarely do you see a fighter move up in weight class against a current champion and still be a favorite to win, but Islam Makhachev is that guy. Despite the criticism that has been levied against him in the past about his strength of schedule, a lot of that isn't really his fault. I think that in every fight, he shows us something new. If we put Moicano out here as a sacrificial lamb, please treat him as such. And Makhachev did just that. But what happens when he faces a guy who weighs above average for his own weight class, with a decent-sized frame, and boxing that'll make you cream your jeans? I guess we'll find out, because JDM combines a lot of different things that have given Makhachev problems in the past. He's only 1 inch taller than Islam, but he's thick, and he's dense. His boxing isn't very similar to Poirier, but it is effective, and it has enough power to get Islam's respect. That's going to be very important. His grappling defense, while not elite, is very consistent. I've seen lots of people say that Craig Jones is going to be a non-factor in this fight because Volk lost both fights to Makhachev. That just feels like people twisting a narrative, but to persuade you away from that idea, Volk didn't have that much trouble on the ground. He stayed safe and he mitigated. If Jack can do just that, along with having not better striking than Volk, but striking that's more suited to fighting this style of fighter, I think he can have a lot of success. I think that Jack can do a lot of similar things. He's long enough to get the reach around guard going and get back up. Volk is a little bit too stubby. He couldn't get the reach around guard going. He had to use other things. But I think that specific weapon in Craig Jones is not going to be a non-factor. It's going to be very important in this matchup and the get-ups of JDM. And then we bring it up to the feet. And Makhachev's striking gets better every time we see him, but he usually needs to get the kicks going. JDM is going to get in his face. He's going to make it dirty. He's going to close the distance and stop that kicking game. That's the goal of JDM, is just get in, Making Islam shoot a somewhat telegraphed reactive takedown is going to be another key to victory. That's what he did against Belal. He pushed him back, hit him a couple times, and then Belal wanted to get JDM off him by shooting a takedown, and JDM was ready for it. Forcing the Makhachev shot is easier said than done, but that's why JDM's power and close quarters boxing is so important. If he's gonna win, it's gonna be a decision, and it's also gonna be a back and forth dogfight. Our co-main event of the evening, I don't think it's going to be a dogfight. Here's my read. Shevchenko is declining at kind of a crazy pace. Maybe she was never that good to begin with. That's very possible. And it might also sound kind of crazy, but losing a round to Jennifer Maia. Almost losing to Tyler Santos, who did pop for PEDs, but she's been shipped off to the PFL. She's serving her time. 2 rounds to Fiorot. Throwing a fight away against Grasso and making it very close with Grasso for 2 more fights. When's it all going to catch up to her? Weili is only a year and a half younger and only has 1 less fight, but the difference is wear and tear. Valentina's been around since 2015 and has a ton of 5-round fights that all went 5 rounds. Zhang Weili's regional career is all first-round finishes. She debuted in the UFC in 2018 and continued that for a little bit. Her strikes per minute is higher, and Shevchenko has struggled with good, clean, powerful boxing in the past. And a final, big, bold prediction for this fight that I kind of just have a gut feeling about. I don't have a ton of information, a ton of data, but I think that Zhang Weili is going to outmuscle her. Weili has taken the time to properly bulk up to 125. She's only an inch shorter, and she's a physical specimen. Pretty big skill difference, but I would say that Shevchenko is about the same size as Tatiana Suarez, who cuts a ton of weight, and Zhang Weili was able to deal with her pretty thoroughly in physical exchanges. Zhang Weili decision is the path to victory. Brady versus Morales. I think Sean Brady gets it done, but this isn't a show about explaining how a betting favorite is going to get the dub. No. We're focused on underdogs. We're focused on Michael Morales and what he can do to win this fight. He's got athlete genes. He's already got the welterweight top 15 welcome package in Jake Matthews, Neil Magny, Gilbert Burns. Those are the easy wins to get you into the rankings. Then things get a little bit troublesome with some of the other people on this card, and in particular, Sean Brady. But the UFC likes Michael Morales. He's a Contender Series alum. He's being positioned by the UFC to do big things. He brings that Mexico and South American market. He's very important. So how does he get it done? He's got to finish Sean Brady, preferably early. Michael Morales' power doesn't really carry late, and Sean Brady's grappling builds as a fight goes on. Usually when you think about like picking people apart and someone's game like developing over the course of a fight, you think about a striker and them like mixing it into the body and the head and adding on combos and that sort of thing. But Sean Brady has good enough grappling, and we haven't seen it very often in MMA, but Sean Brady can do that in the grappling realm, and that's what makes him so dangerous, is he will just control you, he'll figure out what makes you tick, and then he'll start going for it. Sean Brady kept trying that one-arm guillotine. He tried it like twice. Once in the first, once in the second, and he got it in the third, but he's making these small little tweaks and adjustments and forcing Leon into slightly different positions to try and get it. He's a super high-level grappler, and that's probably how Sean gets it done. But if you're picking Michael Morales, you have to pray that he's willing to let his hands go and that his takedown defense is elite. It very well might be. He's been doing judo since he was 5, but he hasn't shown it off against someone of the caliber of Sean Brady. However, if Bilal Muhammad can TKO you, anything is possible. Michael Morales sure can, but he can't give Brady too much respect. I have very little faith in Leon Edwards to beat Carlos Prates. Leon is secretly chinny, wobbled by Diaz, wobbled a bit by Bilal, and he got knocked down by Barberena. He does a very good job staying defensively responsible and mitigating disaster, but he hasn't faced anyone with the dimensions of Carlos Prates. I mean, seriously, look at this guy's frame. He's a couple of steps away from Sean Woodson territory, okay? He's a Martian. So Leon cannot work the Ian Gary game plan of mixing in the wrestling a little bit and then using awkward striking, hanging around on the outside, but still pushing Prates back and keeping him guessing. It's just not going to work. Leon has to fully commit to the wrestling to win this fight. He needs at least 8 minutes of control time to guarantee that Prates doesn't have enough time to figure him out on the feet, which is a very hard task, but he did take down Usman, so it's not impossible. Carlos Prates was taken down by Ian Gary, who I think is a worse grappler than Leon, but Prates was able to get up pretty consistently in that fight in 3 rounds. Leon doesn't get to wear on him. Prates gets to throw with more reckless abandon, right? It's kind of a recipe for disaster. Prates is really slippery on the ground, like a wacky wavy inflatable arm 2-man drenched in olive oil, so I don't see Leon Edwards submitting him, so he's gonna need a ton of control time and enough strikes to stay on top for that 8-minute period of time, and then again, mitigate on the feet, circle around. But I don't think Leon's footwork is the same as Ian Gary. I think it's kind of different, and I think that's not gonna do him any favors in this fight. So, as unlikely as it is, that's his pathway to victory. And our first fight of the main card, Beneil Dariush versus Benoit Saint-Denis. BSD's just gonna catch him with something, isn't he? Moicano does not have a single KO TKO win that started on the feet, not in the UFC, not against some bums from the jungles of Brazil. Renato Moicano only has 2 knockdowns, Cub Swanson with an off-speed jab, and Beneil Dariush with a laser beam right hand. The guy doesn't really have any power, and he was able to knock down Beneil with relative ease and then never do it again. BSD has grit, power, toughness, determination, and all those good things, but he's like a scarecrow from the Wizard of Oz, man. He's got no brain. He's got no head. He's got throat. Not like that. Not like that. No! Of course, it's easier said than done, but Dariush could beat him by outthinking him on the feet, whilst being very crafty and mixing in takedowns and the clinch, threatening ground and pound and subs on the ground like Moicano did. Even though I think BSD's grappling has gotten better, I still think Beneil could grappling diff him. Maybe Beneil steals around like he did against Gamrot with a big right hand, and as the fight goes on, BSD starts wearing on Beneil and pushes for a finish, but he can't quite get it, and Beneil won the first, and then stole the second with a knockdown, right? If Beneil Dariush is gonna win, he's gonna win by the skin of his teeth in a close decision. If I was to rank these fighters based on how confident I am in their abilities to win this fight, starting with most, ending with least, maybe the lack of high-level experience will bite Zhang Weili in the ass, but I don't think so. JDM's gonna have to win a war, but it's very doable. Michael Morales needs Sean Brady to make an error that he can capitalize on. Beneil Dariush just has no chin, and Leon Edwards has no chance. I'm more concerned about the round, or whether or not it'll be a single shot or a combo, whether it'll be KO of the year. I'm already moving on to bigger and better things. Let me know your underdog picks for UFC 322 in the comment section below. Like, comment, and subscribe for more MMA content. Shout out to Proletarian Gothic, Vanny, and Stu for being vampiric enjoyers. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll save you a seat at the Leon Edwards funeral service. And have a good time.